أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome on Youth Matters with me, your host, Sakina Habib. We are entering the new year of 2022 and we pray that this year brings a lot of barakah in our lives. And of course, the question would be that what would be the new year resolution for all of us? So I think this year we should really come up with a new resolution, and that is that we should be kind enough to each other. We should look forward to visiting Karbala. We should visit our family and friends and ask about them. We should go to the Qabristan, to the graveyard, and remember our loved ones whom we lost during these past 2 years, especially during the COVID times. And to just really have that firm faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to do tawakkul. And today, of course, the topic is related to Ayam Fatimiyya. As the Ayam Fatimiyya are going on, we would like to discuss about why do we really commemorate Ayam Fatimiyya? What is Ayam Fatimiyya all about? So we need to get into history and delve into what really happened to Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. So we all know that Bibi Fatima's life speaks of many events from which many morals and admonitions can be learned, and through which one can acquaint oneself with the true believer's lifestyle and the perspectives the believer holds. So although we know that she was abused and that she was neglected in the history, but Bibi Fatima is considered an example of a Muslim woman's adherence to noble traits. And she is a perfect example of how a daughter, wife, and mother should act while keeping their decency and pure character. She also showed us the Muslim women's role in the social field within the limits of religion and virtue. And also, if we see in her life conforms to Islam and proves that Islam does not deprive women of acquiring scientific, cultural, and literary knowledge, granting that they safeguard themselves modestly from any sort of recklessness, indulgence, and such actions. Now, today we are going to discuss about how was her right of Fadak taken away from her, and how was it usurped from her by those enemies at that time, which is a very important discussion. So to carry on with today's discussion, I would like to invite my very dear sister and friend, Sister Sayyida Narjis Zahra Bakri, to enlighten us further on this discussion, so we can have a conversation. So without much further ado, I would like to welcome her on board. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Narjis?
Alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, all well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our amals in these Ayam Fatimiyya and let us offer our condolences to the time of our Imam Mahdi Ajallahu ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, and of course to the entire Muslim Ummah. Indeed, these are very sad days, and what I want to really talk about today is, how the Fadak was stolen away from Bibi Fatima Zahra. So let us go a little into history and let us see what really happened. So we all know that after the Prophet's death, a lot of precarious events took place, and history reveal the true colors of the same Muslims who once followed every step of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by literally following all his rules and regulations, and then later on they literally turned their backs. So Sister Narjis, I want you to enlighten us on this and tell us what really happened after the Prophet's death and what events took place.
So yes, that's true. In fact, we're told that the sufferings of Bibi Fatima Zahra started after her father's death, because the Muslim Ummah became hypocrite and they completely left Ahlul Bayt's side, and such that Prophet's body was not yet buried, and they started looking for future caliphs. which I must add was already done and, like, announced by the Prophet himself. So there are a lot of events that took place after Prophet's death. One mainly being the seizing of wilayat of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib by Abu Bakr himself. So how Prophet had announced previously in Ghadir, like he had announced very clearly. Still, people decided to take decisions in their own hand and go against Prophet and seize the power. After that, very unfortunately very famous thing, we all know about it. Another event that took place was uh, usurping the land of Fadak from Bibi Fatima Zahra, usurping her rights and taking away the right of Bibi Zahra, and how the results were that her house was burnt down, she miscarried Janabi Mohsin, and so on. So yes, there is events that took place after the death of Prophet, hideous events, I must add. And but again, through all of this, Bibi Zahra was very hurt, extremely hurt. In fact, we hear so many lamentations of her, and verses that are in the books of history that show that how sad she was with the death of her father and the situations at hand at that time. But at the same time, she was a very strong lady, someone with a strong
Yes.
morale, and stood up, against the tyrants of the time.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. In fact, I would like to add here that when she expressed her sadness and misery, which she suffered after the death of her dear father, she told Fizza, her Kaniz, Janabe Fizza Salamullahi alaiha, her helper, that it was on the eighth day after the Prophet's death. This Fizza says this, that it was on the eighth day after the Prophet's death that Fatima revealed the extent of her sadness and inability to bear life without her father. And she came to the mosque and she was crying and she said that, "Oh
True.
father, oh my dear friend, oh Abul Qasim, who does your saddened and grieving daughter go to? Who does she have? My strength has been eradicated and my endurance has betrayed me." And she mentions about the enemies, that look at these people who turned their backs on us. And so much when we read about these verses, it's really so painful and heart touching to even talk about it. What
That's
furthermore
true.
would you
That's
like
true.
to add on this?
So, regarding these atrocities that happened on the Ahlul Bayt, just to add on your point, as you mentioned, she did go through a lot. In fact, in history, it's written that when Bibi Fatima used to cry for her father, the people at that time used to say that, "Oh, Fatima, either cry at night or either cry in the daytime." Such that Imam Ali had to make a separate house, outside on the outskirts of Medina, called Baytul Huzn. So a place where she would just go all the way with her, with Imam Hassan and Hussein and Bibi Zainab and Kulsum. She would go there and do majlis for her father and lament over there. So yes, the atrocities were so bad that people forgot that she is the Dukhtar Rasul after all, and so on. And it didn't like end over there. It just continued. And this is where the Caliphate, how the way Abu Bakr sees the Caliphate, this another chapter on atrocities added.
Yes, indeed. And now I want to talk about how Imam Ali alayhi salam was literally dragged to the mosque. Now, when we read textbooks and the riwayas and history, oh my God, to even picture or visualize what they went through, I don't know what they went through, but after the Messenger of Allah, we all know that Abu Bakr tried to seize caliphate. And he and his followers claimed that, since he was unanimously elected by the Muslims, therefore he was the righteous leader of the Ummah. However, we
Yes,
all know that since prophethood can only be assigned to someone through divine specification, through Allah's commands, through Allah's orders, likewise, caliphate cannot be assigned to anyone by mankind. Rather, it is a divine code bestowed upon men by divine specification. Now, we
true.
see that, Abu Bakr tried to convince people that Prophet had chosen him and that he was meant to be selected and all of that because of all the things that he did. And all that was fabricated basically. Now, moreover, this consensus that Abu Bakr and his followers claim to have achieved is not valid, because the Ansars, the Bani Hashims, all the companions of Imam Ali, Ammar, Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, and many other companions, they actually opposed the election of Abu Bakr to the divine post, which was granted to Imam Ali alayhi salam previously. So it is just, it doesn't make sense that why was Abu Bakr really trying to push so hard to, seize that position of caliphate. And also, let us look at why was Abu Bakr actually elected in the first place. So there are several factors that we see that motivated the Muslims to choose Abu Bakr as their leader. So let's recall both of us. So when I was reading, I found out that it was because of the resentment to see that both the prophethood and the imamat posts were occupied by the Bani Hashims. So this sort of created a jealousy, and Umar even mentioned this many times, that all the posts of imamat and caliphate are being taken by the Bani Hashims as it is. So that was one point. What other point do you think motivated the Muslims to elect Abu Bakr?
So yes, I totally agree with you. They say these were the claims, but there's a very thing to ponder upon, that they were very well aware of how humble the Ahlul Bayt were. So I don't even
Yeah,
understand how does this whole bragging part even comes. Like, they knew the Prophet, they knew Ali, like they saw Imam Ali and Prophet like day to day. So they knew how humble they were, yet they make such false claims. Another one would be, while we're talking about it, would be Imam Ali. The main reason I feel would be him. The resentment towards
yeah,
Imam Ali, the jealousy, the envy, so many reasons. And to support
mm,
jealousy and resentment towards Imam Ali, they would bring such things like, Imam Ali is very young. He's younger than us. How can we follow a person who is younger than us? How can someone who is younger than us actually lead us or judge over us? But like, they
true,
don't
true.
realize
I
that Imam
agree.
Ali was the one who judged based on Shariat and Quran, not based on his own free will as such. I mean, such that even Umar himself is quoted saying that if Ali was meant to be the leader, then he would have led he would have ruled with justice, and he would rule and lead with righteousness and would lead on the right path. So this could be
Yes,
one of the other reasons.
yes, and also, as you said, the Quraysh, they envied Imam Ali, and they all knew that Imam Ali, would always lead in such a manner that he would always do adlu insaf. So he would always rule
True.
in a very righteous manner, and that's what they were scared of. They didn't want that. And as you mentioned, that Umar himself mentioned this so many times. And the surprising part is, the irony is that they used to be so scared of Imam Ali that they used to say that, who can even threaten Ali, because Ali is so famous, is the famous hero who was able to extinguish the Arab heroes and kill their brave men and compete. And, he was the one who even broke the Khaybar and all of that. So, who can deceive Ali? That's what they used to say, that Ali is that cautious man who is aware in of all matters. So who can who can even like threaten him or deceive him, because Ali will come to know about everything. And what
True.
furthermore we find is that, what would Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha stand be had Ali alayhi salam been forced to pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr? In other words, what can be done if Lady Fatima chooses to defend her husband, because she was a righteous woman, she was a siddiqa, she was a truthful lady. So if she would stand for her husband, everybody would have to pay allegiance to him. Am I right?
True. Yes, it's true. So they
What?
were afraid. In, sorry, in fact, there are situations that they actually made like a meeting and they decided how to now convince Ali, or sorry, Imam Ali, to actually come and give bayat, because at that time, if people knew that Ali, it was a hadith of Rasulullah, Ali ma'al haq wal haq ma'al Ali, Ali is with the truth.
Mm.
So the moment Imam Ali accepts the caliphate at that time, the rest of the Medina people or the rest of the Muslim nation would also accept them. That doubt will
Yes.
go away. But that is what they wanted. They wanted, no matter what, Ali has to, accept the
Mhm.
allegiance, or pay the allegiance towards Abu Bakr. So they did, think a lot and reflected a lot onto reasons or onto solutions to, solve this very important matter on getting Mawla Ali to come to masjid and accept the Khilafat. And at the same time, at that time, Imam Ali was now took advantage of this, of his time, and collected the Quran, compiled the whole Quran. Well, and then we know what happened after that, how they did this whole getting the Khilafat, getting the allegiance. Basically, we know that
Yeah.
once Imam Ali was not accepting, there, they, what did they
Yeah.
do? They told him, come to mosque. They forced him. And we see this example being repeated in history, by the way, where Imam Hussein was then forced as well to give bay'at. He was called to the at that time, he was called to that to the, sorry, to the
That's
castle or
a,
palace. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Darbar, exactly. Courtyard.
Yeah.
And over there, when he said no, then the Yazid said that then you kill him. And the same happened with
Yes.
Imam Ali. And we know, it's like, we have what happened after that. Like, we have the scenarios that after that, very unfortunately, how Umar told his slave boy Kunfus to go to the house of Amir al-Mu'minin and to bring him. But when Amir al-Mu'minin did not come, he sent him again and said that force him out of the house. And that is when Bibi Zahra comes up. I just want to add that
Yes.
she was in mental pain, losing her father, who she was very close to. But she stands up, she comes in front, she says, I'm not going to give you permission. But when Umar said that, what do women have to do with this? Then we have two scenarios from history. We have one picture here that history says that the Dar Fatima, the house of Fatima, was lit on fire. This is
Yes.
the door that Jibreel used to give salam on. This is the door where Rasulullah used to give salam on. In fact, this is the door which is praised in the Quran. It says, Sadd al abwaba illa baba, that close all the doors towards masjid except that particular door. The same door they decided to lit on fire to force to force Ali to come out. And then another scenario happens is, still Fatima was so strongly, standing behind. Another scenario happens is that they strike her womb, they crush her between the door and the wall, and then she miscarries Mohsin. So at this point, like, it's such a sad event, because, like, I feel like we need to understand it in a different perspective as well. Look at how Bibi she was one in a psychological kind of pain, mental pain. This is where she was suffering from the mental pain, because her house was attacked, her husband is dragged on the streets, she lost her father recently. Another pain is the physical pain. She miscarried. And when you miscarry, there's that whole different level of pain. And another pain she's going through is that she has broken ribs. One doctor had actually mentioned, he was crying when he was hearing these masaib and tragedies of Bibi Zahra. He said that, I'm a doctor and I know when you break a rib, each breath hurts. Like every breath you take, it pains. So there's
Yes.
so much pain she's going through. Yet what does she do? She stands up. She stands up, grabs her chadar, and asks Fizza to help, and goes door by door on the street, reminding people about the Qadir, reminding people about the hadith of أنت مني بمنزلة هارون وموسى. Like, how Harun was to Musa, that was how Ali was to Prophet. So, yes, like, Bibi Zahra went through lots of difficulties, and I feel she is a really great role model. She's the defender of Wilaya. She didn't defend her husband, rather, she defended the Imam of the time. So, this is one of the main lessons we can learn from Bibi Fatima. And there is a lot of things, her going to the masjid even. Actually, she said that if you don't release Ali right now, I'm going to go to the mazar, or to the tomb of Rasulullah, and I'm going to ask Allah, I'm going to plead in front of Allah to give you guys punishment. But then when Imam Ali saw that, Imam Ali told Salman that go stop Rasulullah's daughter, because Imam Ali could see the outskirts of Medina being sunk down in the earth. And when Salman went to Bibi, he saw the walls shaking. So he told Bibi that Rasulullah was Rahmatul lil Alameen. Don't let azab of Allah come to these people. And that is when Bibi stopped. So, and then when this all happened, they let, Imam Ali go back home. But this is not just one. This is, again, a whole new atrocity starts of, usurping of Fadak. So obviously they didn't let the Ahlul Bayt be calm at any point of life.
Indeed, I really thank you for sharing all these, points, and you really visualized everything so properly. Because people really need to understand that what were the events that really took place. People till today they don't believe in the fact that really was Fadak really like stolen from Fatima. How was it stolen, and who actually like gave her this Fadak? Was she really given? Was she really a part of it? So many questions are there in the minds of people. We know that Bibi Fatima was the only surviving child of the Prophet, and she was his most beloved daughter. So, the fact that she claimed inheritance of the property, which, could be a portion to her in the lands of Medina and Khaybar. So, this was what was Fadak basically. When we read
Mm.
about Fadak, it became a political arena, as they say, because of the games that
Yes.
Abu Bakr and Umar played. And they refused to transfer it to Fatima when it was her haq, but I don't but they just played these political games. So when we
Yeah.
read in what Fadak was actually, it was a village which was located at a 2-day walking distance from Medina, and it was actually inhabited by the Jews. But at that time, they had refused to submit to Islam at the beginning. So later on, when they realized that the Muslims are going to attack us, and they're going to like win, they're going to be victorious in taking the land as it is, because the Imam Ali alayhi salam had won in the Battle of Khaybar. He had conquered Khaybar. So that's the time when the Jews decided to yield to the Messenger of Allah without fighting. And that's when Rasulullah took possession of the village. So automatically, Fadak becomes the personal property of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi
Yes.
wasallam. There is no debate on that. It's understood. Now, what
Yeah.
happens later on is that when we see Abu Bakr, bringing up these verses, these fabricated narrations, that prophets cannot inherit and whatnot, and so their heirs cannot inherit. It was all falsely made up. So, Nergis, again, I would like to ask you, since the reason that motivated the inhabitants of Fadak, I mean, like what were the reasons behind why Abu Bakr made such false statements about not inheriting the property? As in, why can't Rasulullah inherit the property of Fadak, and why can't he transfer it to his descendants? So, what would you say on that?
So I think very first we need to understand the differences between gift and war booty. See, war booty is when you
Yeah.
fight and get the remaining. But this Fadak was not, there was no war yet done. People, the Jews had the fear and they gave it as a gift to Rasulullah. So in the Quran itself, it says that what Allah has bestowed on his apostle can and cannot be taken away, and it's like given to him through no expedition, no war. So that is like a gift. It's Rasulullah's personal property. So yes,
Yes.
it's true. Abu Bakr made lots of funny false claims, which if you go to see contradicts itself. For example, the very
Yes.
first claim, what does he say? That it's not even Rasul's, it's Muslims' property. That's his first claim.
Yes.
He
Yes.
says that Fadak was
Yes.
not Rasulullah's. And
Yeah.
then next claim he says that Rasulullah has said that prophets can't inherit. He's contradicting
Yes.
himself. First, he said it's not Rasulullah's, and now he's saying, okay, it is Rasulullah's, but Fatima can't inherit, which is very
Yeah.
funny because and this, I'm not going to answer this question. I'm not going to prove his statement false. Bibi has already proved it false. In the sermon of Fadak, if you read the khutbah, she has given marvelous proofs from the Quran saying that how Dawood inherits from Sulaiman. Sulaiman
Yeah.
inherits
Yeah.
from Dawood. Yeah.
Yes.
So she has answered him, it is possible to for a daughter first of all to inherit, and it's possible for the prophets to, give inheritance. So there are many reasons, obviously. I think the very first reason would be the jealousy towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. They had personal, you know I feel one of the main
Grudge.
reasons would be, as I mentioned, jealousy. Yeah, exactly. They had that first personal grudges against Amir al-Mu'mineen, because Amir al-Mu'mineen is Amir al-Mu'mineen, He was
Exactly.
excellent in every arena, in
Mhm.
war, in ibadat, every arena. He was like perfect. So it's understandable that they were jealous. So they decided to now take things in this way, where apparently physically they have more control over the situation, less than Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this was one of the reasons why. And you know what? He was a very what can I say? Like he had this kind of personality that he didn't have strong based claims. You get me? He had very weak claims, such that when later on, as we'll talk later on, even when Bibi Fatima convinced him, he decided to give Fadak back. Like he was very
Yeah.
weakly, like he didn't have a strong stand in him, in his own self. And then Umar came in between, saying that if you give Fadak, then you'll have to give away your caliphate as well. And then he returned it back. So yeah, like there are very different aspects to view this whole scenario. But yeah, we need to understand that it's not really, if you go to say, it's not really a political issue. It's so clear, it's so wazi that it was a gift given to Fatima during the life of Rasulullah. So there's no even point of inheritance in this sense. There's no inheritance
Exactly.
situation to be dealt upon.
And if we again look at it, the real motives which led Abu Bakr to usurp Fadak from Lady Fatima, we see that since Fadak brought large profits to its owners, he thought that Imam Ali could use this profit. Could use, yes, this profit in his fight against Abu Bakr, just like how Lady Khadija alayha salam used it against infidels. Against the
Yeah.
infidels, yeah, during that period in her time. And then we see that there was this, political challenge which Abu Bakr created, and it was aimed at proving to Imam Ali alayhi salam and Lady Fatima that the nation was not ready to, help them or support them or aid them in an emotional issue. For example, he literally downgraded Bibi Fatima and Imam Ali in a speech in the mosque, and he told the people that, "Oh people, what is this attentiveness to every aimless speech?" And he says that surely Ali and Fatima, like foxes who have no witnesses, and they instigate every dissension. And he used really like downgraded language and insulted them just so that people would not do bay'at to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And also, we see that Abu Bakr, he really tried to deprive Bibi Fatima of her property because of the underlying motive that he thought that, if Bibi Fatima would get this property, then automatically she would, give leadership to her husband Ali, and automatically Ali would get the Khilafat. And that was what was again scaring him. So there is so much if we read in history, and everybody knew that Bibi Fatima would never say something false. She would never like claim for something which is, something which is like, as in, if it doesn't belong to her, she wouldn't ask for it. She wouldn't, speak up for it. She wouldn't stand up for it. But this
Mm.
was her right. This was her haq. So, if we look at other emotional factors which led Abu Bakr to refuse Bibi Fatima her right, what else was there? And also tell us. what were some of the things that made Abu Bakr jealous. For example, we see Prophet used to tell Imam Ali to lead the prayers, and also when Surah Toba was revealed, Imam Ali was told to read the verse and surah and all of that. There's so much. Can you share with us in depth a bit?
Okay, so yes, one of the most important emotional motive, as I mentioned earlier as well, is the jealousy towards Imam Ali. That they could not stand Imam Ali's perfection. So, as you mentioned, one scenario where Rasulullah told Abu Bakr to go to a certain city and basically spread Surah Tawbah, read the verses of Surah Tawbah. But we have in the Quran, a Quran verse was revealed that if you want to send a messenger, then let it be the messenger himself, which is Rasul, or someone like him. And we know that Ana wa Ali min shajaratin wahida, that Imam Ali and Rasulullah are from the same tree. So then Imam Ali was
Yes,
sent. So obviously, there was like a big blow on him, like, on his ego kind of thing, that, oh, I was told to go back now. Not just this, so many other situations where when Rasulullah was sick, so his daughter Aisha told him that go lead the prayers because Rasul is sick. But then later
yes,
on, Rasul, when he found out, he came himself to lead the prayers. So there are
yes,
many, many. This way, he thought that probably Bibi Fatima told, Rasulullah, just the way my daughter told me. I'm sure that Rasul's daughter
yes.
told her that Abu Bakr is leading the prayers. So there were many, situations. But these are the same people who, in front of Rasulullah did not show this hatred. For example, in front of Rasulullah, they went running to Imam Ali that Bakhrin, Bakhrin Ali, congratulations on becoming the Amir. These were the first people who ran through the crowds in Ghadir Akum saying, Bakhrin, congratulations. And now these are the same people who like completely turned and showed the true colors after Rasulullah was gone. So yes, there are many reasons as to why they would be jealous of Imam Ali. As I mentioned, he was perfect in every way. Uh, so this is one reason that how Imam Ali, the jealousy that they had for Imam Ali, added to one of the motives of, taking up away the Fadak. So they thought they could hurt Imam Ali and Bibi Sahra by taking their right.
And if we are to talk about what happened to Fadak afterwards, meaning after all this politics and games, took place, and then what happened in the future, meaning after the death of Imam Ali alayhi salam as well. So we see in history, Sheikh Jafar Subhani, a leading historian, he wrote the following in his book, The Message, and regarding Fadak. And everybody who wants to know the reference, it's on page number 601. I'm reading from that he mentioned that the foundation of the deprivation of the descendant of Fatima Salamullahi alayha's claim of Fadak was laid in the time of the first Khalifa. And after the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Muawiyah assumed the reins of government and divided Fadak amongst three persons: Marwan, Amr bin Uthman, and his son Yazid. So during the period of the Khilafat of Marwan, all the three shares were assumed by him and he gifted them to his son Abdul Aziz. And he in turn gave the same to his son Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Now turns out that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was actually a good person. He was an upright person from amongst the Bani Umayyah. And what he did was, the first thing he did was that he wanted to return Fadak back to the descendants of Bibi Fatima Zahra. However, even after his death, they again played this game of taking it back, and the same game was played again. So they took away Fadak from the Bani Hashim, and it continued to remain in their possession till their rule came to an end. So also, if you want to add something on this, Nargis, maybe if I'm missing out on something.
Yeah, so obviously this thing continued. We have even in when Bani Abbas's Khilafat came up. So after Bani Abbas came, this question of Fadak was still, vacillated kind of thing. So, for example,
Yeah.
Safa gave it to Abdullah bin Hassan, and after him, Mansur Dawaniki took it back, but his son Mahdi
Mhm.
returned it back to Ahlul Bayt. and after him Musa and Harun took it away from them on again political considerations. When Mamun, so
Yeah.
yes, it was going on and on and on, like it was being taken, it was being. So I just wanted to add that that I think Imam Ali mentioned it to one of his companions, that Fadak was the only land that they had under the sky in this world. And
Yeah.
again, it was not something that they themselves benefited from. Like, really, the entire income of Fadak was distributed among the workers of the Fadak itself. It never reached Bibi Fatima. So this whole idea of, it will make Imam Ali politically stronger, financially stronger, that's not possible. I mean, these are the people, we're talking about those people who, if they kick on the ground, they can release gold mines. So these, we really, like, it's a matter of understanding. I feel like this whole reason came up was because they didn't have the correct ma'rifat of who these personalities really are. So if they knew who these personalities are, then I'm sure there would not be this any funny claims that they made about Fadak and so on.
Very true, because again, we see that during the periods of the Khilafat of Bani Umayyah and Bani Abbas, Fadak assumed largely a political aspect as compared with its pecuniary aspect. And even if the first Khalifas were, in need of income from Fadak, the later Khalifas and the nobles, they didn't need it because they were so rich enough. They did not need that income from it. So even Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he later on, when he handed over Fadak back to the descendants of Bibi Fatima to Zahra, the Bani Umayyah reproached him and said that, by this act of yours, you have found fault with the two venerable men. That is, they were referring to Abu Bakr and Umar. And then that's why they told him that they persuaded him that you should either distribute the income from Fadak among the descendants of Lady Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, but make sure that you keep the ownership with yourself. So, he was also like, you can say, convinced and persuaded. And that is the last thing that we come to know when we read history, that is the last thing that, really took place. So, I don't know what else to say, but it's really, really like, uh, it's heart wrenching when we read such narrations and, what Bibi Fatima went through as a lady, being a lady at that time, standing for wilayat, it's, something really, it's a big deal. Like, it showed that she was a very strong woman, someone who had a very high personality, and she stood for the right, even in the sermon of Fadak, the way she communicated with Abu Bakr, she really gave him these really uh, arguments, like she brought up these very sensible verses from the Holy Quran. She connected it with that, and that's how she like had a discourse with him, which really like put him into pieces. And he was like so like
Yeah,
it was actually a
she
good
came
lesson for
strong.
him. But yeah, but then till today, like these people, they don't deserve any sort of rahma or blessings. And there should be just like curses upon these people, upon what they did to Bibi Fatima, because it continued
Definitely.
and it really hurt her. And that's what the Prophet even mentioned in the hadith, that whoever has hurt Fatima has hurt me. So whatever these people did, the namaz and everything, of course Allah knows best, but what they did to Fatima can never be forgiven, right?
Not just
Thank you so
like
much,
it's
Sister
valid,
Nargis, for
Yes,
today's discussion. I would like to thank you for joining me on this very important discussion, and thank you for the research that you did and all of that. I'm very grateful to you. Thank you for your precious time. If there's anything that you would like to say uh, uh, before going away.
no, no. Thank you so much for joining, for inviting me. Sorry. Thank you, really. Thank you so much. And yeah, just that we maybe get the tawfiq to implement and try to make Al Bayt happy with our actions. this should be the main motive of our life, inshallah. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for
Jazakallah.
inviting me.
Thank you
Jazakallah.
so much. Jazakallah khairan. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our amals in these few days of
Ameen.
Ayam Fatimiyya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our condolences. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining me on today's program. And I hope that today's program was very informative and educational. And we tried to really look into history, what really happened, and what were the events that had taken place. What were the reasons that led Abu Bakr and Umar to usurp the right of Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha? So thank you for today's discussion. I hope all of you enjoyed. Inshallah, we'll be bringing another interesting episode next week, same time on Youth Matters, and it will be related to the Ayams, of course. So thank you for joining me, and inshallah, we'll be ending the program with Noha, so that Bibi inshallah accepts in her bargah our little efforts. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for joining today's program, and I hope that this was a very informative and educational program. It was very important to delve into history and look at the events that took place in the life of Lady Fatima Zahra, and what were the reasons that motivated the Muslims to elect Abu Bakr, and then what were the reasons that motivated Umar and Abu Bakr to usurp the rightful land of Fadak, which was the property of Lady Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. So I think these were very important topics that had to be discussed. Thank you, and inshallah I'll be catching you next week with another interesting episode related to the Ayyam. Join me on Youth Matters at same time. Thank you so much. May Allah accept our amals in these days of Ayyam Fatimiyya, and may we offer our condolences to the time of our Imam. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Zahra, 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 hai Zahra, तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की है ज़हरा, तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की।
आए गम में तेरे जाती रही,
आए गम में तेरे जाती रही,
बीनाई अली की,
तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की है ज़हरा, तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की।
दरबार में जालिम के गई दिन के पैगंबर, क्या वक्त था कुछ करना सका फात है खैबर, आए हंसते रहे गुर्बत पे तमाशाई अली की,
तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की है ज़हरा, तेरी तन्हाई है, तन्हाई अली की।
पैगाम विलायत लिए घर घर गई ज़हरा, शौहर के लिए ढाल थी जब तक रही जिंदा, आए दुनिया को
تنہائی علی کی ہے زہرا، تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی.
کہتے تھے علی زہرا سے کیا حال ہے بی بی، اب ہم کو سلام کے بھی کرتا نہیں کوئی. آئے ہیں مات نبی کیسی پذیرائی علی کی.
تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی ہے زہرا، تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی.
در جلتا ہوا فاطمہ زہرا پہ گرایا، محسن کی شہادت کا سبب بن گئی دنیا. آئے تصویر مکمل نہیں ہو پائی علی کی.
تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی ہے زہرا، تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی.
باہر کبھی حجرے میں کبھی قبر نبی پر، ہر رات کی تاریکی میں اولاد سے چھپ کر آئے نکلی ہے تجھے ڈھونڈنے بینائی علی کی.
تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی ہے زہرا، تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی.
زہرا کی جدائی کو لگائے ہوئے دل سے 25 برس مولا نے چپ چاپ گزارے. ہائے ایک حجرے میں کل دنیا سمٹ آئی علی کی.
تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی ہے زہرا، تیری تنہائی ہے، تنہائی علی کی.
اس وقت تکلم زمانے